Hi guys, so Sheryll Murray, who's a Brexiteer and a member of the Conservative Party, was invited to ask questions at the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Committee last Tuesday. Now the topic of discussion was seafood and meat exports to the EU. Now it's important to remember that because the UK is a third country, it's no longer a member of the single market and the customs union. Any consignments going into the EU from the UK need to be accompanied by a health certificate which is signed off by a vet. Now it can't be signed off by anyone else, it has to be signed off by a vet. This is a requirement by the European Commission. You can't get around it, you need to have it signed off by a vet. Now she's going to ask, is there an alternative to hiring more vets? Because at the moment vets are dealing with a massive amount of paperwork, and the alternative to hiring more vets is, well, what? So let's hear what the experts had to say.
So question number 4 now, Sheryl, please.
Well, almost, Chairman, but not quite.
Not quite.
I think you've answered the first part, gentlemen, but I just want to know, because my question was, is the current model of official veterinarians mostly being from the private sector and fitting their certification around their other work still appropriate? It seems to me that you feel there is a problem there, but is there another model that you would suggest besides just employing more vets?
Is there a model? Well, the alternative is to rejoin the single market and the customs union. That would solve a lot of problems, but I don't think Sheryl would agree with that, because that would be going against Brexit. You have to remember that she campaigned for this. So if there are problems at the border, why didn't she know about it? Wouldn't you think she would know about that before convincing people to vote for it? But she's going to learn a lot in this video.
Have you any other thoughts around that? Because we are looking for solutions. So
Sure, yeah.
it's
Yes, we created the problems and we want you to fix it. Michael Gove said we've had enough of experts. We're tired of listening to experts. People have, what was it he said? People have had enough of experts. Now she's asking the experts to fix the problems that she created.
it's very easy to identify the problems, but have you thought about any solutions?
If I could maybe just...
Gary first, and then perhaps to you, James. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's what we're here for. First of all, just to make a point of clarification, and forgive me if the committee already understand this, but as James will appreciate, the model in Northern Ireland is very different from England and Wales, where the vets are employed as public for the public good. So the checks that are carried out, and actually interestingly enough, going back to the previous question, i.e. the connection between environmental health and the veterinary side, that's actually, dare I say it, much better in Northern Ireland, because the DAERA vets are working closely with the AHOs, because they're all part of the public service, if you like. It's obviously a very different, much more difficult whenever the model is entirely reliant on the private sector, as my understanding is it is largely in England and Wales.
So that's quite interesting, the fact that vets work directly with the government in Northern Ireland, while they don't work direct. They're private in England and Wales, meaning that it's difficult for the government to put pressure on the vets to do more work in England and Wales. So this is, in a sense, a benefit that Northern Ireland has.
In terms of answering your question specifically, though, Sheryl, in terms of solutions, rather than, I'm thinking about it, and what I will commit to do is come back to, the chairman has already asked for some further supplementary written evidence, which I'm happy to provide, and I will reflect on that and provide some further thoughts on that, if that's okay.
It's like we don't really have any solution. Like, if the problem is we need vets to sign off on a health certificate, and the And the issue is that there are a limited number of vets, and we don't want to hire more vets, and we can't pressure vets in the private sector to do more work. Then what is the alternative? Now, you could try and sign off documentation without a vet, but the problem with that is that when the consignment arrives in the EU, it would be rejected. Or if the EU found out that the UK was cooking the books, getting non-veterinary staff to sign off on consignments and this paperwork, then the EU would say, we're not going to accept your goods any longer. Remember, it's who's holding the cards here. Michael Gove, sold Brexit as we hold all the cards, when in reality it's the EU that's holding all the cards, because if you want to export to your biggest market, then they hold the cards. If you're a small country and you're exporting to the United States, you don't get to dictate terms. The United States gets to dictate terms. And what's ironic is that the Brexiteers don't seem to have a problem with the United States dictating terms. But when it comes to the EU, they seem to have a problem with that. Now, wouldn't it have been useful if Sheryll, who's a Brexiteer, had actually sat down with Gary McFarlane, who's the Northern Ireland director for the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, if she had actually sat down with him before 2016 and asked him what sort of problems would there be for the shellfish industry that she claims to represent if we have restrictions on exports? Wouldn't that have been an interesting question to ask him? I'm sure because he's an expert, he would be able to answer it, and he would have answered it in the same way as he has in this committee. He would have said there would be problems. Now, why didn't she do that? Why didn't other Brexiteers do that? Why didn't they listen to the experts? People who knew what they were talking about. Why didn't the public listen to the experts? The experts, most of them said Brexit would be a bad idea. But instead people listened to politicians. They listened to Sheryll, who has absolutely no idea how veterinary certificates work or how imports or exports operate. She was the spokesperson for leaving the EU. And she was, I'm not focusing mainly on her, but she was one of them. She was telling the public not to worry about the consequences of Brexit. And now she's going to the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Committee after Brexit and getting educated on the restrictions of sale into the EU. At what stage will we stop listening to politicians and start listening to experts? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?